Hi, I'm Roberta. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to Scotland, and the Scots are known as very good bakers. We're going to make Baps, sometimes called morning rolls or softies, beautiful soft white fluffy flour dusted bread rolls. In Scotland, as the name morning rolls suggests, you often have them for breakfast, especially on a Sunday. They're great to make an egg and bacon roll, and I love them to dunk into soups or casseroles. Now they are a yeasted dough, so you need to start at least a couple of hours ahead. If you want to serve them hot for breakfast, you can even start the day before and prove the dough in the fridge overnight. So as with any yeasted dough, we start by adding some yeast. It's about a teaspoon or half a packet if you're using these handy little packets. We pop that into a bowl with a pinch of sugar and a tablespoon of warm water, just to get that yeast activated. And this is the very important part when you're working with yeast. We're just going to put that aside in a warm, draft-free place for about 10 minutes, depending on the weather, until it froths up, and I'll show you what that looks like. Then we'll get going. Now, of course, you can knead your dough by hand, and it's a very good workout for your arms, but I'm a little lazy, and I prefer to let one of these things attached to an electric mixer, a dough hook, do the hard work for me. So I'm sifting my flour into the bowl of my electric mixer. We're going to rub in a little bit of butter for richness, and then once we've added all our liquid ingredients, we're going to let the electric mixer do the hard work. By all means, if you prefer, you can tip it out onto a lightly floured workbench and give it a good kneading, but it does require a good 5 to 10 minutes by hand. So I find my arms get too tired, and the electric mixer is the answer. Once your flour is sifted, and you do want to sift for this recipe, a good pinch of salt, in with some cold, important cold diced butter, and we're just going to rub that in with our fingers, just rubbing it through your fingers. You've probably done this before when you're making pastry. We'll be doing it when we're making apple crumble as well, but with that we've got a lot more butter. This is very little butter, and it's just going to disappear into the flour as we rub it in. So after a few minutes, our yeast is frothed up nicely. We make a well in the centre. It goes into the middle there with our milk. Good to have this at room temperature. Keep that yeast happy. It likes a nice warm environment. The rest of our water, and we're just going to fold the flour into the liquid to make a rough dough, and then we'll let the dough hook do its magic. I find that it works better if you actually fold the dough together first, but obviously it depends on your electric mixer. Mine's a bit of an old one. There we go. We have a very rough dough. It's all come together quite beautifully. We'll now pop it on the electric mixer, and we'll come back in a few minutes. I'll show you what it looks like. So after about 5 minutes of hard work by my trusty Kenwood chef, I have this beautiful, elastic, soft dough. So all we need to do now is shape it into a ball, and we've done this before, where you tuck underneath to make a nice round, smooth ball, and we'll do that again when we're shaping the rolls. A little bit of oil just to coat it, top and bottom. We'll pop it into a clean bowl, cover it with a fresh tea towel, and pop it aside in a warm place. Now, it depends on the season. I just look around the house and find a sunny spot, pop it on the floor or on a table. As I said, if you want to have these fresh for breakfast, at this stage, you can cover it with plastic wrap, pop it in the fridge. It'll prove slowly overnight. I find that's often best anyway, but 1 hour in a sunny spot will do, and then we can make our rolls. Now, after an hour or so in a warm place, our dough's nicely risen, as you can see. A little bit of flour on our bench, not too much, so it shouldn't be too sticky. Out it comes, And now we're just going to knock it down and shape it into 6 rolls. So a little bit more flour on top, and you can weigh these rolls if you want to be precise, but I find it's enough just to break it in half and then break each half into fairly even thirds. You'll feel when you hold it in your hand that's about right. And now we're shaping, and remember, we're just folding it down, tucking it under to get a nice round roll with a smooth top. And tuck and fold, and then I like to just flatten the bottom a bit because I have occasionally had them split at the bottom. So make sure that bottom is nice and flat, and then onto a baking paper lined tray with plenty of space between them. So remember, tucking underneath to get a nice smooth top surface, and then when it's all tucked under, just a gentle tap to make sure that base is nice and firm. There we go. Okay, so another half hour of proving. Clean tea towel over it, warm spot, half an hour, they'll puff up, then they'll be ready to go into the oven. So after about half an hour, there we have them, our beautifully risen Baps. Now Baps are quite flat as rolls, so we just want to give them a little press down. I find it's easiest just to use the heel of your hand. They're going to spring back a little bit because they're nice and yeasty, which is what we want. And there we go. I'll just move that forward, give that back guy a bit more room to move. Okay, little milk, wash, little milk over the top, just pure milk brushed on. That's going to give it a nice glaze and also help some of our flour to stick to it. Now, I don't know that this achieves anything, it's just traditional that they are always dusted well with some flour on top. And in some parts of Scotland, I think they're actually referred to as floury Baps for this reason. Now, some of that's going to come off when they're cooked, that's fine. As I said, it's more an aesthetic thing than a taste thing anyway. All right, now they're going into a hot oven for about 15 minutes until they're hollow when we knock on their base, and we'll see what that looks like shortly. So here we have our beautiful Scottish Baps. Fluffy little rolls, very hot, straight out of the oven, with that little flour dusting on top. We'll pop them onto a rack to cool. Now, do check them after about 10 minutes. Start watching them because every oven's different. So 15 minutes is really just a guideline. You can dust some of that flour off the top. It happens as you drop them anyway. Split them in half, as I said, bacon and egg rolls. I'm going to dunk mine into cock-a-leekie soup. Fabulous for breakfast with fried egg, fried bacon, black pudding, and they freeze well too, and toast. So Scottish Baps, enjoy.